Hey there, and welcome back to Retire Right, the show that helps you understand the twists, turns, and choices that come with retirement planning. I'm your host, and today we're zooming in on a couple of lesser-known, but incredibly important, retirement plan types. We're talking about stock ownership plans and 403(b) plans, two unique creatures in the world of defined contribution plans. These aren't your everyday 401ks. They come with different rules, benefits, and risks. And today, we're going to make sense of them all. Part 1. What are stock ownership plans? Let's start with a picture. Imagine you work for a company that doesn't just pay you in cash or bonuses, but gives you a literal piece of the business. Not metaphorically, I mean actual stock, shares in the company you work for. That's the heart of a stock ownership plan. These are defined contribution retirement plans that invest only in employer stock. And when you participate in one, you're not just saving for retirement, you're becoming an owner, at least in part. Now you don't pay taxes on these stock contributions until you actually take a distribution. That means the tax benefits are similar to other retirement plans. Defer now, pay later. And just like other qualified plans, you can roll your balance over into an IRA when you leave. But here's where it gets interesting. Part 2. The ownership culture? There's a reason companies use stock ownership plans beyond just the tax advantages. It's about culture. When employees own a piece of the business, something changes. There's a shift in mindset. Suddenly your performance doesn't just affect your paycheck, it affects your stock, your retirement, your future. That's why many companies believe stock ownership boosts job satisfaction, loyalty, and productivity. It creates an ownership culture where employees and management are rowing the boat in the same direction. But, like anything in investing, there's a flip side. Part 3. The risk of putting all your eggs in one basket. When your retirement savings are all tied to the stock of your own company, you're not diversified. That's a major red flag in the world of investing. Because think about it, if the company struggles, not only could you lose your job, your retirement savings might take a hit too. That's a double whammy. So yes, stock ownership plans can be powerful, but they come with concentration risk, a term that basically means you're putting all your eggs in one basket. Part 4. What these plans look like in practice. So what does a stock ownership plan typically look like? First, they're mostly invested in company stock. Second, you usually can't withdraw that stock while you're still working. Third, don't plan on taking a loan from it. That's usually not allowed either. And fourth, if you leave the company, you can take your shares as actual stock or just cash them out. It's a separate account from your regular 401k, and it comes with its own set of rules. And here's a fun fact, there are actually 3 main types of stock ownership plans, but only one of them is still active today. Let me explain. Part 5. Meet the 3 types of stock ownership plans. First up, we've got the ESOP, the Employee Stock Ownership Plan. This is the only one you can still create today. Employers might direct matching contributions into an ESOP or into an ESOP section within a 401k. These plans are alive and well. Then there's the PAYSOP, that's short for Payroll-Based Stock Ownership Plan. These were built around a payroll formula, and while existing PAYSOPs still exist, you can't contribute new money to them. They're frozen in time. And lastly, the TRASOP, a Tax Reduction Act Stock Ownership Plan. These were linked to old tax credit laws from the 1970s and early 80s. Like PAYSOPs, they're also frozen and can't accept new contributions. So bottom line, only ESOPs are active. Part 6. The leveraged twist. What is a LESOP? There's a special flavor of ESOP known as the leveraged ESOP or LESOP. Here's how it works. The employer takes out a loan, usually from a bank, and uses that money to buy company stock. That stock is held as collateral. Then, as the company pays back the loan, the bank releases shares of stock to the employer. The employer then passes those shares along to the ESOP. Over time, the ESOP allocates the shares to individual employee accounts. It's like slowly earning pieces of the company as the loan gets paid off. Smart? Risky? A little of both. Part 7. What happens to old PAYSOPs and TRASOPs? Now those older plans, the PAYSOPs and TRASOPs, still exist for some people. But they're what we call wasting accounts. That means you can't add money to them. You can't roll money into them, but the value can still change because the stock can go up or down. You can move money out of them, usually once you meet certain age or service requirements, but most plans restrict how and when that happens. In many cases, your only move is a final distribution after you leave the company. Part 8. A quick word on diversification. Rights. Some plans do allow you to gradually move out of company stock as you age. That's called ESOP diversification. But the rules vary wildly by plan, and one thing to know, these stock accounts are usually separate from your main 401k. That means they require separate transactions, different forms, different processes. Part 9. Let's talk about 403b plans. Now let's shift gears to a different type of plan entirely, one you'll see in schools, hospitals and churches. The 403b plan, also known as a tax-sheltered annuity, the 403b is like the 401k's cousin for non-profit and public employees. If you're a teacher, a nurse at a non-profit hospital, or a church staff member, this is likely your retirement plan. A 403b plan can be structured in a few different ways. As an annuity contract from an insurance company, as a custodial account invested in mutual funds, or for church employees, as a retirement income account that can invest in either of the above. Part 10. Why 403b plans matter? Here's why people love the 403b. Tax deferral. You don't pay income taxes on your contributions or the investment growth until you take the money out, usually after retirement. Tax credits. You may be eligible for something called the Saver's Credit, a tax break for low to moderate income earners who save for retirement. Catch-up contributions. In some cases, if you've worked for a qualified employer for more than 15 years, you may be eligible to contribute even more than the standard limits. The bottom line? A 403b can be just as powerful as a 401k. You just have to know how to use it. So today, we've looked at some of the lesser-known tools in the retirement toolbox. From stock ownership plans, where you literally own part of the company you work for, to 403b plans, built for those who spend their careers serving others. Each comes with different rules, risks, and rewards, and understanding those differences could make a huge impact on your future. If you found today's episode helpful, I'd love it if you subscribed, left a review, or shared this with someone you know, maybe a teacher or someone who works for a non-profit. Remember, this content is for educational purposes only. For the most up-to-date rules and changes, always check the official IRS or Department of Labor websites